Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Monday, December 16th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, all members of the commission are present, along with the manager, attorney, and finance officer. I'd like to remind you to activate the microphones tonight, both the commissioners and those that come to the podium. Please be sure to select the button to the right so that the microphone comes on. We get a good YouTube recording and everybody can hear you. Let me remind you to silence your mobile devices. If you've got cell phones and other things that make a noise, please take care of that right now and put those on vibrate for us tonight. We are pleased to have Pastor David Bridges with First Apostolic Church of Morganton to do our invocation tonight. And then our county attorney, Mr. Hall, will lead us in the pledge following the invocation. Pastor David, if you'll come, let's all stand together for the invocation and the pledge.
Let's pray together. Lord, we thank you and praise you for this day that you've blessed us with. Thank you for a wonderful county that we have to live in, raise our families in. We thank you for every leader that is assembled together in this room tonight. Pray, Lord, that your blessing will be upon this meeting, that you would let every word that's spoken be with honor and grace. Lord, that we would remember that we are all in this together. Lord, that you would guide us, protect our minds. God, keep us in one mind, in one accord. Pray, Lord, that you would bless each and every one that's here. For in all things, God, we aim to give you glory and honor and praise. And we ask all of these things in the most high and wonderful name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This brings us to item number 4 of our agenda tonight, approval of agenda. And gentlemen, I'd like to ask for a couple items to be added that we're familiar with. We need to act on the attorney contract as we selected in our organizational meeting. And then I'd like to add item number 3 in presentations, an update from our county manager concerning Hurricane Helene and responses to that effort. Do I hear a motion to that?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, tonight we have approval of meeting minutes for September the 3rd, 2024 pre-agenda meeting and September 17th, 2024 regular meeting. You've had those for review. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That is 5-0, Madam Clerk. Tonight we have several presentations. Our first presentation tonight will come from the County Manager, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Mr. Manager, along with Margaret Pierce, our Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, we talked about this briefly at pre-agenda, and it's really just an opportunity to recognize the efforts of our Finance Department for the third consecutive year, which are the first and only 3 years that Burke County has achieved this recognition. It's a national level achievement for an excellence in financial reporting. With your permission, I'd like to invite Margaret up to talk about her team and the efforts that go into that. But this just exemplifies, I think, going above and beyond to make sure that as we prepare financial statements that are highly accurate and all those type of things, that that her team has received this level of recognition. I think it's something we shall be proud of. So, Margaret?
Thank you very much. We're excited. The whole staff works on this. It's extra, like he said. We put in what's called the statistical section. There's 16 tables in there where we try to talk about operationally what's going on, what's happening in the economy. Those things aren't normally part of our report because they're not numbers that go through the checkbook, but we feel like they're important to put into the report. We also do what's called a letter of transmittal, where we talk a little bit more narratively about the county and what's happening and what we're seeing and what's going on. Those are some of the extra pieces. There's a few other little things you put in, but those are the big things. The staff helps me we divide it up and different people do different pieces and then we review it and we take, different people double check numbers and things. So it's really a group effort, but it is something we're proud of and excited. And we'll be submitting again for the June of 24 audit by the end of the year. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Any questions for Margaret on this achievement?
I just want to say congratulations and heartfelt appreciation for you and your staff. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion to recognize and congratulate the Finance Department for this accomplishment.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. And again, Margaret and team, thank you for all that you do every day and throughout the year to keep us on track, our financial records. Item number 2 tonight in presentations comes from our sheriff, recognition of retirement for Macho, our K-9 officer. Sheriff, Langston, tell us about Mr. Macho.
Dawn and Papa wants to up too. Tonight is really bittersweet for the Burke County Sheriff's Office. We are retiring our last K-9 Macho, and Macho is about a 10-year-old German Shepherd. He served with the Sheriff's Office for about 8.5 years, and for 8 years of that, he has been with Lieutenant Tim Branch. His wife Dawn is here, and granddaughter Piper is here with him. It's important that they're here because this dog not only serves the Sheriff's Office, but has become a part of Lieutenant Branch's family. The dog lives at their house and has become part of their family as well as ours. So it is bittersweet for us. Macho has been a great dog. He's a type of dog that you could take to a violent situation and leave that and go to a daycare or a school and run him through the schools and the kids could play with him. He's one of those dogs. And I'll tell you, I'm very proud of Lieutenant Tim Branch. He has give his heart and soul to this K-9. And I was telling Marty with the paper the other day in the interview that you can tell how much he's put into this K-9 whenever you talk to Lieutenant Branch. His face just lights up about Macho. And in that interview, the lieutenant started smiling when we was talking about Macho, and I looked at Marty and I said, just like that. And it was just the biggest smile, and he's done a fantastic job with this K-9, and we're very appreciative of Macho's work. I'll tell you a little bit about what Macho has done throughout his career at the Sheriff's Office. He's been a part of 230 utilizations as a K-9 officer for the Sheriff's Office, helped with 27 building searches. He's tracked one suspect with an arrest, conducted 129 vehicle searches. He's been a part of seizing 235 grams of marijuana, 1,138 grams of methamphetamines. He's been a part of 32 controlled substances arrests and many other utilizations that make up that 230. And he has been a great dog. And I would just like to present the lieutenant and Macho with a plaque of appreciation. For Macho, for your years of service at the Burke County Sheriff's Office, starting April 17th to October 2024, presented today's date by Sheriff Banks Heinzman of Burke County Sheriff's Office. And on here, the inscription of "Make a Friend." And whenever the lieutenant is out with Macho, especially in some of our public appearances, you can hear the lieutenant say, "Make a friend." And that's Macho's cue that it's okay to play with the kids or interact with the public. And but when the lieutenant says, "Go to work," Macho knows when it's time to go to work. And like I say, he's been a great dog. So I'd like to present this to you, Lieutenant.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And you can tell how disciplined this animal is. He's been up here the whole time, and maybe some people may have not even realized that he was in the room. And even with all the clapping and everything, he was just mellow with it. So that speaks to his handler, who's put a lot into that animal, that canine officer. Yes, sir, up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Heintzman, and congratulations to Macho on this retirement, and appreciate the lieutenant and his family. I know it's, though he's answered to you, I'm sure, the wife and granddaughter and others have had some responsibility with Macho too. And so thank you all for what you have done to take care of that and for what you've done for our county in this area. And I guess it's safe to say there's not any drugs in this room tonight.
The lieutenant said that he's actually been retired for about a month and has not come to work, but he was able to put him in the patrol car and bring him to work, and tonight on the way in, he was sniffing cars out in the car. So they were clear all the way into the.
All right, good job, good job. Yes, please do, yes. All right, let's give him another hand. Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to recognize Macho, our K-9.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I make a motion to recognize Macho K-9 and acknowledge his years of dedicated service and contributions to the citizens of Burke County.
thank you, Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's 5-0. Thank you. All right, item number 3 on presentations, we have added a presentation by our county manager, Mr. Epley, relating to storm response. Mr. Epley.
It's a tough one to follow. I appreciate the opportunity at our at pre-agenda, Mr. Chairman, you had, as we were doing reports at the end of the meeting, you had asked for an update on the storms, specifically in debris collection, and staff felt it was appropriate to maybe put something a little more formal together and a little more in-depth, comprehensive. So I've tried to put together a few slides, not only on the debris collection and where we are in disaster recovery process, but also some things that are some emerging issues, some things that we are working on that we see kind of around the corner that are good, just good things for our community to know, good things for the board to know, and maybe give a little bit of perspective as to what we're trying to manage. So today is day 79. It's hard to wrap your head around. It's been a very slow and methodical 79 days, but at the same time, it feels like it's just a blink. It has really gone quickly. One of the things that we are very pleased with is that we were able to advocate for a disaster recovery center that we all know is been heavily utilized at the Foothills Higher Education Center. As you can see, almost 2,100 folks since October 19th have utilized that resource. Total in Burke County, about 12,800 different households have filed for individual assistance, and you can see kind of the breakdown there of how that's fallen out. Over on the right-hand side, and this is just, I think, trying to provide some perspective to the total scope of impact and need in our community. When you convert these applications into dollars, there's been about $2.7 million for household replacement or repair, and other needs of about $8.4 million, including one funeral, for example. So there's all types of needs there. This is just showing how our folks, how our community is engaged in this resource. The vast majority, 80%, have done so online. And then, as you'll see a little bit later, part of the individual assistance program through FEMA is for our folks to self-assess what their level of damage is. And you can see there, about 374 folks have said that they had major, they categorized their damage as major, another 172 as destroyed. One of the things that we know we're starting to see as we turn this corner from just disaster, from the infancy stages of disaster recovery into a more long-term recovery is housing. And as we see temperatures fall, the Office of State Fire Marshal has issued guidance last week that essentially temporarily suspends much of the fire code. So things that would not have been approved in the past, things like, essentially you can have a storage shed that's insulated that now can be, provided power. And those type of temporary emergency housing solutions. Around our community, there's a few FEMA trailers, which are essentially 16-foot Hudson trailers with a tiny home built on them. There's one in Creekside. There's a couple others around the county. I think there's 17 temporary housing solutions that are in the pending process to come into Burke County that will largely fall under that that exclusion for moving away from what's customarily any local code that could be planning, zoning, but also fire marshal. So, we're trying to be as nimble as we can and move with pace, recognizing that we still have some folks that are not necessarily in a great spot. As far as right now, you put that in perspective, there's 196 people, Burke County folks, that are living in hotel rooms. So FEMA's also working through a quality assurance metric where they're cross-referencing the folks that are in those hotel rooms to their actual primary residents to make sure that they're all justified. But as you can see, I mean, just a ton of need out there. Debris collection, we've talked about this many times, but really FEMA through the public disaster recovery public assistance process offers debris collection. Largely, it calls for the county to manage the quantity, the types of material that we're talking about, how it's going to be reduced, how it's going to be handled. All of that stuff has to be intimately managed and measured and reported to ensure that we get reimbursement for that. Our estimate is somewhere around $10 million of debris handling cost. We have two contractors. The county had two options for debris collection. One was to partner with the Army Corps of Engineers. The alternative option, which most folks are doing, was to partner with a private contractor. We did that. So we have two. One contractor is called Debris Tech, and they largely monitor and tag where these debris collection piles are. And then SDR, which is the collection firm that largely works on picking that material up. And that's been working well. We have 3 sites currently in Burke County that we're using for debris collection. The primary site is our solid waste landfill facility. And you can see here we have 2 sites there. This was our primary site, so well before this storm ever happened, Burke County had a permitted FEMA approved disaster recovery site. The problem was it was only about 3 acres. So it did not imagine this amount of material. So we've since that point permitted a separate site there on the at the landfill, as well as we're also using Burke County Fairgrounds as well as the property out in Salem community off Jenkins Road. And really the primary advantage of the alternative sites is to reduce road traffic, right? We want our contractors to pick the debris up from the right of way and then to move it to a staging area that can keep them moving material. We don't want them hauling air, so that we can collect it quicker. Last Friday, we started air curtain burning or incinerating. This is actually from out at our landfill, and you can see that it's the most efficient way to dispose of this debris, which is just incredibly voluminous. We were one of the first counties to actually get started and to be permitted. We're still chipping at the fairgrounds, but even some of those chips will likely be moved to the landfill and then processed via this air curtain burner. To date, we've collected about 101,000 cubic yards. That's quite a bit. We average between 27, 30, 32 trucks per day. That can get to depending on when it's wet, obviously, we move a lot slower. So probably not collecting debris over the last couple of days, but we can still handle, still chip, still burn, still do some of those to create capacity. Our estimate is 600,000 cubic yards. That estimate gets refined as we go. That includes residential, commercial, also private gated communities. So we think we're about 18% there. And that matters because as a reminder, public assistance typically is a 75% federal cost with a 25% local share, and that local share in North Carolina historically has been 12.5% state, 12.5% county. At least for this project, for the first 180 days, the federal administration has waived all local costs. So at this point, this is 100% federally funded through 180 days. We're on day 79. So to the extent that we can get more done in the first 180 days, we eliminate or reduce significantly any local costs that may be ever infused into our local recovery efforts. So we're trying to move as expeditiously as we can. You can see we kind of started in the center of the county and we're working out. Those green dots represent areas that we have been at least making the first or second pass to collect this stuff, and we're continuing to work hard. But it is there's 24 counties in western North Carolina that are all competing for the same contractors, and as I know Commissioner Barrier travels west, there's a lot of the counties to our west have substantially more need. I don't have any way to validate this, but Buncombe counties is in the millions of cubic yards. This an enormous amount of material. So we're continuing to manage that, but at this point we think we're at about 18% of our total collection. There's also a few things that I would consider emerging issues that I want to bring to the board's attention. The first one is waterway debris. Similar to right-of-way debris collection, waterway is a significant challenge. We don't have an estimate for the total amount of material. We know that there's automobiles, there's RVs, there's road culverts. There's a substantial amount of material in the waterway that doesn't even talk about erosion and dredging and some of those other challenges. Similarly to the right-of-way collection, though, there's two options that we can choose from. One is requesting through the state EOC to work with the Army Corps of Engineers. The pros of that is that there's no county cash outflow. You also aren't having to justify where you're collecting. Waterway debris collection is an approved public assistance policy reimbursement through FEMA, but it's only to the extent that you're preventing future public infrastructure damage. So that's one of the, there's some level of exposure to collecting that material and making sure that you're documenting things in the right way that ensures future reimbursement. On the other side, the Army Corps and many of the counties around us, most of the counties, I think Caldwell is the only county I know of that's using a private contractor for waterway collection. Most everyone is using the Army Corps, and what you hear there is that you lack a sense of control, like for SDR with our right-of-way collection. At times we can prioritize areas that may be health hazard or maybe of a higher priority. With the Army Corps, you lose some of that control. So I share that as an emerging issue that over the next few weeks, staff along with the board will be presenting some options and making a determination of which path is best for us. I don't think either of them are fast. And there's a tremendous amount of material in our waterways. If you just travel, one of the easier ones to see is travel down 18 South, and you can see just driveway after driveway of culverts that are in the stream. And so that'll be a substantial amount of material. It'll be a high cost item. And we have to make that decision about how we want to proceed. And I think that's something that certainly as we enter the new year, we'll be looking for direction from the board on. Gated communities is another example. So the public assistance debris collection process only considers public right-of-ways. So if you live in a gated community or in a homeowners association that's privately owned, you're not included in that process. There are ways for us to deem that it's in the public's best interest for either utilities or for public safety response that we need to enter. And we can largely, capture that material as part of the general debris collection process. Just a little bit different documentation tree that's required. And we have a right of entry agreement with our contracted hauler, as well as the, someone who can make decisions on behalf of the homeowners association. So we've largely tried to work through identifying which communities those are, and we're working through trying to get authorization to enter. But if, to the extent that there's questions to commissioners or from the general public about are we going to be covered, it's our belief that each of those communities will be covered to the extent they want to be, and they give our contractors permission to enter to make sure that we have access, again, for public utilities and public safety. One of the more complicated opportunities is also an emerging issue is this home mitigation block grant. So this is a program that has been, it's funded through, as a block grant from the federal government to the state government. North Carolina has received $1.5 billion. Steve McGugan is the Assistant Emergency Management Director in charge of hazard mitigation. In the past, these types of programs largely had much more need than funding, and it's competitive literally across the state. But it's designed to provide a pathway for folks who have experienced some type of loss in the disaster. So for example, if someone's home was completely flooded, and they're in, as it relates to this particular block grant, and they're in the 1% floodplain and they have significant damage to their home and they're in a high risk area for that to happen again. Unlike in previous disasters where the county had to play a big role, what we've now learned is for this particular storm event, this block grant is going to be used and managed completely by the state. So that $1.5 billion that the federal government has given to the state of North Carolina will be managed largely between the State Department of Emergency Management and the homeowners. But for folks who have experienced that level of loss, they can fill out an application. They can engage with the State Department of Emergency Management. And there's three primary options that they have. So again, it's primarily focusing on those folks inside the 100-year floodplain, primarily focusing on people who are at high risk for future disaster, and who experienced significant damage in this storm. The application will flush all that out. But in those events, property owners can engage and receive funding to either elevate their house, so either 2 to 5 feet above the flood level. In some instances, they can get mitigation reconstruction dollars. And probably the most opportunistic opportunity is for acquisition. Acquisition is literally where the state would, through this application process for qualified homes and qualified property owners, provide market rate pre-storm dollars to people to buy their property. And then that property becomes essentially either federally or state-owned green space, public park in perpetuity forever. The only involvement that the county would have is as folks complete those applications, there has to be a certain kind of a sign-off responsibility from our board to acknowledge that those private property owners will be removing those tax records from the county's books forever. And if they're located in a municipality, similar impact on the town or city. So again, nothing to do at this point, but in the next 30 to 45 days, we should expect those applications to start coming in. In the past, in previous disasters, this would take 2 years. From what Steve tells me, the state's trying to complete these in 90 days after the application. So if application process starts in Burke County, in the next 45 days after that process starts and they're approved, they're trying to close very, very quickly. So again, just something we should all be aware of. Here's an example of what raising the foundation in an elevation project looks like. Literally poured a new slab, elevated the house, and it'll kind of look like that. One other thing that we know is, if you remember from the beginning, the homeowner self-assessments, there's quite a few properties that are significantly damaged in Burke County. This could be personal, this could be residential, this could be commercial. And so what we want to make sure is that we're accurately measuring those real property valuations as part of our own taxing process. Real property valuations happen on January 1 of each year. Mass appraisals happen during reval, obviously, but if there's significant changes in value, property owners can adjust those values on January 1st of each year. Our personal property tax listing forms are going to be mailed out on January the 2nd. And what we would like to do is to attach in our personal property tax listing forms, that again goes to every improved parcel in the entire county, so 36,000, this form. And this form basically says if your home has been damaged because of the storm, or your business, or any real property you may have, it could be a building, please acknowledge that. Let us compare it to our preliminary damage assessment. So this is a dashboard that our team has put together in the days and hours following the storm all the way through the last couple of days. And so we'll compare that to this, but to the extent that we want to make sure we don't miss anyone, and we want to make sure that there's no, that no one's paying, is being overtaxed based on their value. Our assessors will go out, and these are the compartments of adjusted tax value. So affected, this follows FEMA's damage assessment process. So effective would be like, my gutter's knocked off, right? You're still able to live at your house. There's no real significant change. Minor may be that the porch was damaged in somehow, but still you're able to live there. You have power, you have water. Major may be you had to move out for a while. Maybe a tree fell on your home and then destroyed, clearly is destroyed. And that second column would be the impairment, the change in property tax value as a percentage to each piece of real property. And that would be for a minimum of 12 months. And then by January 1 of 26, we'd have to reevaluate again for each of those properties. And so that's a little bit more of a comprehensive update than what I was able to give last time, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to answer your questions you guys may have. I appreciate your time very
I got a
much.
question, Brian.
Yes, sir.
On the properties, all the homeowners, like in a certain section, let's say like over Creekside there, would all the homeowners have to agree? Like if one of them said, hey, I'm selling out, I'm gonna get my assessment, do they all have to agree for that to work?
I don't believe there needs to be unanimous consensus. I think that some may say, I choose to elevate. Some may say, I wish to sell. So I think it's going to be largely based on their application, status, whether they're approved or not approved individually, and then what they feel like is best for them and their family.
Okay, one more thing, just to add on that. How would that work if some of the land is gonna be given up in a division there, and then you got neighbors on both sides that's got stilts or whatever? I mean,
It could very much, I think what you're saying is, could the optic look different? Meaning, could you have an elevated home and then two empty lots and then an elevated home? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that could happen.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So a quick question. Will this information that we're gathering on January 1st be shared with the cities?
Yes, well, we actually are hosting later this, for professional staff, we're hosting a town manager meeting later this week to talk in depth with this. But, yeah, we send listing forms to all households, regardless of incorporated areas or not.
What I mean is the evaluation impairment rating. Will that be?
Yeah, so Morganton and Drex will do their own tax collections, but we do tax valuations for everybody by law. So no one does. The county tax assessors are the only ones that do the assessing. So yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Brian, with the 180 days that we have for reimbursement by FEMA, if this drags out longer than that to get the debris or waterways, then it's on us. Is that what I'm understanding?
So for waterway debris collection, again, if we use Army Corps, there's no cost. But yes, if the 180 days is not extended, any public assistance that we're involved in, that could be right-of-way collection, waterway collection, that could be any program, then unless that's extended, yeah, there would be a shared local cost, unless the state picks up the entire 25%. Right now, the federal government's carrying all of that. I think there's some belief that the state may extend it, and the feds likely will not, but I think there's some conversation about the state maybe picking up that full 25, or maybe it's a 12.5 split. We don't know now, but, the typical model is 75% federal, and then a local share and state share. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess the concern is if SDR is so pulled in so many directions in other counties around us, you know, are they having an issue being able to get enough of their subcontractors with trucks and dump trailers and skid steers and all that stuff? You know, that maybe we kind of take a lower priority and go beyond 180 days. Anything we can do, you think, from a county level to help find them more people if that's what they need?
Yeah, so there's a link that we can, at one time it was on our website, we can recirculate that so that's there, that if you want to be a subcontractor, you can sign up. So encouraging folks who want to participate in that way, I think is one thing that we can do. Our incident management team is still meeting twice a week with SDR to talk about debris collection and manage it. We meet at 3:30 every Monday and every Thursday. I think your point's well made, though. At the end of the day, there's a finite amount of resources and a lot of people really competing for those. And many of the subcontractors that work for SDR also work for the Army Corps, who largely subs out everything too. So it's just, there's a limited amount of folks who can practice there, and so you want them working in your county.
And just one other question, on the mitigation grant program. Since that's going to be managed by the state, how do they know, do they know who the people are that's had that kind of damage, and will they be contacting those folks individually?
So, like in McDowell County, this coming Thursday, in a couple of days, they're having an intake. So the county's helped advertise for the last couple of weeks that they're going to be in town, and they'll have, 9 or 10 people from state EM there, helping people complete applications and getting the photos they need and all the stuff. There's also an application on their website. So they don't seek these folks out. It is voluntary, 100% voluntary, and to utilize it, you have to know that it's available.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. That's always a concern to me, that these folks are going to be out there and just trying to live their lives, and I'm seeing it happening all around us, and nobody's going to contact them, and they're not going to hear about it. So,
Certainly for the ones we know, we could reach out to. I mean, we have our, our damage assessment, and we know in the 1% floodplain is a fairly, and that's absolutely their target. It's a fairly limited, area. So I think for, at least for county staff to reach out and make sure that everyone who's eligible is aware is realistic. That's not but I don't know that the state folks do that.
Other questions? Yes.
Mr. Eppley, am I to believe that it's going to be immaterial whether the homeowner had any type of home insurance, flood insurance under this program? They'll still be eligible, won't they?
That's my understanding. I think all of that will be garnered through the application process. And another question is, what if the home was completely demolished and they still qualify? So if the home was completely wiped off of the foundation and is no longer there, they still qualify for acquisition at market value pre-storm.
Okay. And going back to that, when you were talking a minute ago about they would pay fair market value, are you talking about like tax value? That the county has the home, because that's supposedly fair market value.
We know that'll be, through the application process, negotiated between the homeowner and the state. So I don't know exactly what they consider fair market value. I know it's not tax value. And we know that our tax value right now in Burke County, our sales ratio is at 77%. So we're 23% below arm's length transaction fair market value. So how they determine that, I'm sure there's some methodology, but that's between the homeowner and the state EM.
Other questions for Brian on this item? All right, thank you, Mr. Manager, for that good update for us. Helpful to understand what's happening in this area. This brings us to a special item we want to add in tonight on the presentations. And many of us had the opportunity this past week to come by and recognize our fire marshal and emergency management director in his retirement. And I'm glad to see Mr. Willis with us tonight. Mike has had 40 years of professional service in public safety and in relation to emergency management and fire. And I'm going to ask Mike to come forward at this time and we've got a special presentation we want to make. Mike's last day will be later this month. And Mike, if you'll just come on up here and turn face the crowd. I'm going to ask the commissioners to come down, and we're going to make a presentation. Mike, we appreciate all you've done for our county, sir. Appreciate your work. We've got a plaque. We also want to present get a picture, and then I want all of our fire and emergency folks to come up. All right. All you guys that are in the fire and emergency, come up and let's get a picture with Mike. Let's take about one step forward. Mike, you can come on up. Let these other guys come forward back so we can get Mike's family, you guys come on up and join us.
You want to take work family first and then regular family?
Yeah, that'll work.
No, Mommy.
I can't help myself, Mike.
We'll put it up, 105.
Yeah, I'm gonna carry it in the gorge with me the next trip we go.
Yes. 11 minutes.
Come on up.
I apologize. I have 2 kids, and my 2 kids have my kids. The gang of them. I couldn't have made it this far without them.
I'm trying to get some light. Thanks.
And my parents too, my parents are watching online, so. Can't say anything, but thank you, I appreciate the county giving me the opportunity to serve. It's been a pleasure, but it's been a long 43 years, so it's time for me to go to Walmart or something. Do something a little bit different, so, I hope to spend more time with this crowd, before they all get wrong.
Yeah.
That's like the boss block. Thank you all very much.
Thank you again. All right, this brings us to item number 7, scheduled public hearings. We have no scheduled public hearings tonight. This will move us on to informal public comments. Madam Clerk, anybody signed up for a public comment tonight?
Is Jim Frady here? There he is. Come on up, Jim.
Okay, sir, please state your name and address.
My name is Jim Frady. I live at 249 Forest Glen Way in the River Glen community in Glen Alpine. On a personal note, I wanted to thank the board for everything that you guys have done, the county has done for our neighborhood. I wasn't directly affected. I live what we call Forest Glen Mountain, the backside of River Glen up there, but you know, a lot of our neighbors were affected, and especially Eagles Landing down below us. So certainly appreciate the efforts of the county stepping in. As an alderman with Glen Alpine, I certainly want to invite anyone to our meetings. We would love input from the county We know that we're poised for growth on the western end of the county, and we're looking forward to making decisions that will help the county grow in those regions. We've got a lot of potential in our market. We've got a lot of potential and a lot of enthusiasm with our citizens. Myself, certainly, I make myself open for anyone that would want to contact me. We're talking about it all the time on the board. We just purchased some land. We don't know what we're going to do with that yet, but we just purchased a big tract of land right there in Glen Alpine. Simpson Field is on our radar. I know you guys have purview of that right now, but we certainly would love to engage the conversation moving forward. I know that it's underutilized, and we would love to share the burden, and that's just speaking from myself. That's a personal opinion. I think it's forgotten about back there, and I think we all could do a little bit better of sharing our resources in that area. So as a town, we certainly are looking at that. So again, real briefly, wanted to thank the county for that, and looking forward to working with you guys in the future. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
That's all the cards I have.
All right, thank you very much. With that, I'll close public comment tonight. We'll move on to item number 9, consent agenda, and I'll ask the county manager to review the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Documentation detail for each of these items, obviously in your packet, fairly lengthy tonight, so bear with me as I work through it. Item 1 for consideration is the 2025 commission appointments for the Board of Commissioners. Item 2 is consideration for a resolution establishing your 2025 meeting schedule. Item 3 are the proposed rules of procedure for the 2025 year. Item 4 is the child fatality prevention team restructuring, which, as you recall, is in response to legislative change, and we'll be recommending that we stay as we are, which is a single county. Item 5 is reappointments of 3 members, 2 reappointments and 1 new member to the Blue Ridge Community Action Board. Item 6 is 2 reappointments to the Burke County Board of Equalization and Review. Item 7 is several adjustments to the EMS Peer Review Committee. There's a removal and several appointments and reappointments in your packet. Item 8 is appointment of seat number 15 for Judge Scott Conrad to the JCPC Board. Item 9 is the appointment to the Morganton Planning ETJ Board, which has been open for some time. Item 10 is a resolution appointing and amending plat review officers for the City of Morganton, Valdez, and Roadhis. Item 11 is the minor adjustments to remaining terms for the Social Services Advisory Board to align those so that they fall appropriately. Item 12 is consideration for the adoption of our human resources policy modernization efforts, specifically Article 1 that were presented during pre-agenda. Item 13 is a resolution surplusing county property of K-9 and Macho, who we met earlier. Item 14 for consideration is your monthly tax collection report for November 2024. And item 15 for consideration is your November 2024 release and refund report. Mr. Chairman, happy to answer any questions you or the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions on the consent agenda? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. All right, this brings us to item number 10, items for decision. We have several items tonight. This first item will come from the clerk, appointments or reappointments to the Library Board of Trustees. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to make some appointments or reappointments to the Library Board of Trustees. Seat number 1 represents a City of Morganton resident, and that seat is currently occupied by Ms. Browning Rochford, who has applied to serve another 3-year term ending December 31st, 2027. and she is your only applicant.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's go ahead and take care of this seat number 1. We have the applicant Browning Rochford. All those in favor of appointing Mr. Rochford back to this seat, signify by the uplifted hand. Be 5-0, Madam
Who
Clerk.
is the mover on that, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry,
Who made the motion?
I'll just do that.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have seat number 4, which represents an at-large seat for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2027. Your current member is Mark Patrick, and we also have applications from Locke Huffman representing the east, or Janice Gravely representing the west, and this is to complete a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2027.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Since we have a number of applicants for this seat, I'll open the floor for nominees for this seat.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Mark Patrick.
We have a nomination for Mark Patrick. Are there other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close nominations. All those in favor of Mr. Patrick indicate by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0. All right, Madam Clerk. Number 2, recognitions and public health advisor. You ready to go to that one?
I am.
Okay, carry on.
Thank you. This is a request to make several appointments to the Public Health Advisory Board. Seat number 1 represents a pharmacist. Your current member is Jessie Stout. She is the only applicant on file, and this is for a pharmacist for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2027.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Being that Jessie Stout's the only applicant for this seat, I'll make a motion to reappoint Jessie Stout to the Public Health Advisory Board for seat number 1. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It'll be 5-0.
Thank you. The next seat is seat number 5, which is for an optometrist or private citizen. The term is 3-year term ending December 31st, 2027. Your current member is Isaac Crouch, and you also have a good number of applications on file. William Reed, Jacob Brown, Dylan Smith, Crystal Gupton, or Ken Bonfield.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, I would remind you that this seat is a seat that statutorily is directed toward an optometrist, and in the past, we've not been able to fill that with an optometrist. And we do have an applicant. I'll just note tonight that Ken Bonfield is an ophthalmologist. So with that information, I will open the floor for nominations for this seat.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Ken Bonfield.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any other nominations for this seat? Seeing here none, all those in favor of appointing Dr. Bonfield to this seat, signify by the uplifted hand. That'd be 5-0. All right, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seat number 7 on the Public Health Advisory Board is for a registered nurse. We have an application from Joseph Taylor, and the term is one that ends December 31st, 2026. And she is the only applicant on file.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that information, I'll move to appoint Joseph Taylor, RN, to this Public Health Advisory Board for seat number 7. All those in favor of that signify by the uplifted hand. That'll be 5-0. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Okay,
Seat number 9.
moving on to seat number 9, which is an at-large seat. The term is for 3 years, ending December 31st, 2027. Kami Irvin is your current member, and she has applied, as well as William Reed, Jacob Brown, Dylan Smith, and Crystal Gupton.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I would remind you, as Dr. Bonfield was appointed to a previous seat, he would not be eligible for this spot, and because Isaac Crouch was not reappointed at the seat number 5, he would be eligible for appointment to seat number 9 at large.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Thank you. So with that information, gentlemen, I'll open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I did notice we had one applicant with a bachelor's degree in public health and a master's degree in health benefits design, and I'd like to nominate Crystal Gupton.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrier. We have Crystal Gupton. Are there other nominations? I'd like to nominate also Isaac Crouch for this seat. Any other nominations? With that, I'll close nominations. All those in favor of Crystal Gupton indicate by the uplifted hand. And that'd be 3. And those in favor of Isaac Crouch, be 2. Ms. Gupton will be seated to seat number 9, the at-large seat for the Public Health Advisory Board. And I think Ms. Gupton's here tonight. Christy, congratulations. All right, Madam Clerk.
Okay, you ready for the tourism?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see, tonight we need to make appointments or reappointments to seat 4, which represents the collector of occupancy taxes for hotel or motels. Seat number 6, which represents the travel and tourism at large. And seat number 8, which also represents the collector of occupancy tax for a hotel or motel. With regard to seat number 4, your current member is Samantha Reed, and you have Ms. Reed and/or Mandy Nix to consider for seat number 4 for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2026.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We've heard this information. We have 3 applicants for this seat. I'll open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Samantha Reed.
I have a nomination for Samantha Reed. Are there other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, I'll close. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand for Ms. Reed. It's 5-0.
Okay, for seat number 6, which is the travel and tourism at large, Diane Ryle is your current member, and she is the only applicant on file. And the term is for 2 years ending December 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that information, I'll make a motion that we reappoint Diane Ryle to the Tourism Development Authority, seat number 6. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It'll be 5-0.
Okay, with regard to seat number 8, a collector of occupancy taxes for hotel or motel, your current member is Mitch Curse, and you also have an application from Mandy Nix. The term is a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2026.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. With that information, we'll have nominations for seat number 8 to the Tourism Development Authority. Do I hear a nomination?
Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate Mitch Curse.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close nominations. All those in favor of Mr. Curse indicate by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk.
And then our last requested action is to appoint Commissioner Phil Smith as the chair of the Tourism Development Authority for 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, you've heard the information. Do I hear a motion to select Commissioner Smith as chair of the Tourism Development Authority?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to select Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. Be 5-0. All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
You made it through that quite well. All right. Item number 4, decisions tonight, is to consider our county attorney contract. We did not have that available at the time of the organizational meeting. Gentlemen, you've had that information. Mr. Manager, any additions to that?
The staff report is in the packet. I think it's largely what you're all aware of. I'm happy to provide any additional or answer any questions you all may have, but I think the staff report contains most of the relative information, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Manager. All right, gentlemen, you have the information. Do I hear a motion to accept this contract?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to execute the contract.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That'll be 5-0. All right, this brings us to item number 11, reports and comments. We have a report tonight from Partners Health, and we're glad to have Dr. Paul Holden with us tonight. Paul, good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for allowing us to come and to speak to you for a few minutes about partners. And I'll try and make it as brief as possible. I think sometimes I like to at least spend a minute and a half talking about what Partners is. In the state of North Carolina, there are 4 managed care organizations, and they run the span of North Carolina for mental health and substance use issues. And so we are, in this side of the state, mostly from Forsyth to Rutherford, and we work with 15 counties. The thing that I think is kind of important for folks to know is that the reason for managed care organizations is to try to keep Medicaid funds on a consistent basis each year. Without that, if the contracts weren't handled by a particular agency in a county, the cost could go up and down precipitously on any given year. So that's the reason behind a managed care organization in the state. So Partners is responsible for having contracts with all the providers that are in Burke County that would provide mental health or substance use services for your county residents. It's only for Medicaid members. One of the things I think you should know is that Partners doesn't provide direct services. I think that's a misnomer for folks. We have care managers that work with Medicaid members, but we don't provide services. So like if you were thinking that someone goes to a counseling service, that's not what Partners does. We just manage that part of it. The providers are already here in Burke County, and they request applications of Partners, and then we sign a contract with them so that they can be a Medicaid provider. So that's primarily our role. Also, and it's largely my role, is to help to provide leadership and support in Burke County for collaborative efforts that we're doing in terms of mental health and substance use. One of the things in the state of North Carolina and, well, Medicaid in general is an emphasis on choice. So I just want you to know it's just not one big pot of Medicaid money. In Burke County, there are 4 what we call standard plans, regular insurance companies that have a contract with the state that it's just like an employee insurance company where you could select your providers there. So that's one way to do that. It's usually for folks that don't have need of mental health, substance use services frequently. Another way to do it is to have what's called Medicaid Direct, which is you don't choose anybody, but you must go to a provider that accepts Medicaid, and then that provider bills Partners, and then we reimburse that provider. As of July 1st, there's another element. It's called the Tailored Plan, and that's for selected folks who have plenty of challenges in life in addition to those for mental health. And so what we do is we provide a care manager for health aspects of it too. So as of July 1st, the managed care organizations went broader than just mental health. They now incorporate physical health too. And our care manager kind of takes people and makes sure that they can meet all their appointments, knows who to go to, and so that they can be healthy and be a productive citizen in Burke County. So that's primarily I want to just kind of give a little bit of background. I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding about what a managed care organization does. So I'll just highlight just a couple things and not get too far into the weeds here. If we could just go to the next slide there. The Medicaid members that Partners has provided services for, that we've reimbursed for, just so you know, that's 500, the 4207, that's 500 more than the previous year. So people are availing themselves of the services in Burke County. That's a good thing. The penetration rate talks about 48%. That means for everybody who's eligible for Medicaid, that 48% of those choose to look for different services in Burke County with regard to mental health and substance use. So the higher your penetration rate, the better you think that we're working with the residents of that particular county. We can go to the next one. So the large, just not to get too much, like I said, in the details, but see, if you look here for mental health for adults, that's your largest number by far, 1,781 folks who are Medicaid. Non-Medicaid, the reason for that column is that the state provides funding for folks that are not Medicaid eligible, and so we're able to assist with their services. So 1,781 is a pretty large number. You can go to the next one. Just so you have a frame of reference, if you look under intellectual developmental disabilities and look to the right under Medicaid, $27 million is spent for adults over 21. And that's mostly for adults who have intellectual developmental disabilities. So it's folks that have had challenges, intellectual challenges their whole life, and now as they've gotten older, some of them are in facilities where their needs can get met, and others need more intensive services. That's why, even though we're a mental health substance use organization, our IDD, intellectual developmental disabilities, is a large share of the money that's spent. We feel good about that, but I just want you to have that frame of reference. You can go to the next one. So this is just kind of relate to, for the board to know this, and particularly for the 2 new board members. I'm just going to look at the top 2, correctional behavioral health, and then the first line of Catawba Valley Healthcare, substance use services in the detention center. When you enter jail currently, you are not eligible for Medicaid. So even if you were receiving Medicaid before, you're not eligible for it. So the services kind of stop with many folks. So what many county governments do, as Burke County has done, is to provide some funds for us to at least give some of our provider agencies a chance to work with those folks that are in jail for that period of time. So you can see there, correctional behavioral health is an online service. It's a very good one, but it's online, and so 2 days a week, folks that are at the jail can be referred to that for mental health purposes. So when I look at that, the budget, $48,760, that's what the county commission set as the budget for this year, and you can see we're spending, because this goes till September 30th, so we're at a good rate at this point. We're spending the money, and they give really good services. Catawba Valley Healthcare for substance use. Correctional behavioral health is for mental health. Catawba Valley Healthcare is for substance use, and so they do a great job there too. They have a team there. The one thing I want you to know is that our sheriff here is a fantastic partner, and he is open to ideas. He really wants what's best for the folks that come through there. We're really working hard to not have a high recidivism rate. You know, if you're unfortunate enough to land in jail, we want to make sure that you can get whatever it is you need so that you don't have to return. But I just want to say that the sheriff has been great and is always very open-minded. In addition to that, so now provided those 2 services, then Partners has now this year and recently in Burke, within the last month, started a reentry team, which means when folks leave jail, we have folks that are working with them to see if we can't help with their homes, with other appointments that they need and things to do to, again, to not keep them from coming back to jail. So we're working on that. But anyway, appreciate the funds that the county commission has approved in the past, and we'll look to come to you again in the spring. But I just want you to kind of know about that. And then we can go to the final slide. That's just to give you a sense of what the numbers are. So Catawba Correctional Behavioral Health has served 81 during that 3-month period of time, not for the year, but during that 3-month period of time. And the thing that I think you need to know is there's the number on the right, is inmates under suicide watch, 38. The sheriff probably could tell you, and I think every jail captain in this state would tell you too, that there are folks that are that have challenges that are in jail that are, talk about suicidal ideation and harming themselves. And so it's the funds that you offer are really helpful to sheriff and to the folks that work at the jail to kind of keep those folks in a good frame of mind, at least in terms of why they're there. And then the substance use services, Catawba Valley Healthcare has served 100 during that 3-month period of time. With 268 means 268 times they've met with a variety of those 100 people. That's the idea behind that. So that's in a nutshell what we've been doing from July 1st through September 30th. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
All right, thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul on this information?
Yeah, one, brother. Are all these people, are they, when they come out of jail, have they got a place to work, or are these just people that are kind of revolving through the doors, that kind of thing? I just don't know how that works completely.
Well, it depends. We work with, when we work with the staff at the sheriff's office, we get referrals for some of those folks, and you volunteer to participate with the folks that work with you. Some people are fine. They're going back to their home with their family of 4 and life's good for them other than whatever unfortunate thing happened. There's other folks who don't have home, or unsecured housing, homelessness, or they have other needs. During their time period where they were in jail, maybe they decided that their substance use issue was what was bringing them back here, and that maybe it was time for them to make a move otherwise, and we can help them to get a referral to an agency or provider that maybe can help them with that. So it's not everybody, it's just those folks that volunteered to participate with the helpers.
Paul, when you say 48% under the Medicaid heading, is that 48% of folks in Burke County who are eligible for Medicaid that are coming through partners or?
They're through Medicaid in all aspects of it, not just partners.
So the penetration rate then of all of Burke County who would be eligible for Medicaid, only 48% are utilizing Medicaid.
Right, and they might have one service that, I guess I would want to be clear about that. That doesn't mean they necessarily have severe issues. It might be that if you were part of a standard plan and you accessed one provider for one circumstance, that brings you under that penetration rate too. So it's for Medicaid members for a variety of services, not just for severe challenges. Just want to be clear about that.
Okay, so that wouldn't cover all medical type.
Right. No. We only have a small number of folks that in terms of medical. But I will say that what you look for is that the higher the rate, the better we feel about we're reaching out to people and saying, if you want to take advantage of this particular service, that would be helpful to you.
Right. Okay. Other questions? All right.
Okay.
Seeing none.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion to accept this report as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. This brings us to operational update from Social Services and Veteran Services. This will be presented tonight by Roxanne Powell and Molly Eller. Good evening, ladies.
Good afternoon, good evening, yes. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us to be here to talk about senior services and veteran services. The Burke Senior Center, which is formerly known as the Morganton Burke Senior Center, is the result of a special interest group that started here many years ago. A group of local seniors in the city of Morganton utilized some grants to fund the construction of the existing building located here at 501 North Green Street. And that began with the opening date of October 1984. And then in the mid-1990s, the County of Burke took over the daily operation of the center and eventually gained full ownership of the facility in 2008. Burke also became the first county in the Unifor region to open a second center with the addition of the East Burke Senior Center, as you see located there at 101 Main Avenue in Hildebrand. And that was during the year of 1997. After a long campaign, the East Burke Senior Center moved from their initial location, which was in the basement of the Hildebrand High School, to their newest shared facility with library services. Both centers are recognized by the North Carolina Division of Aging as Senior Centers of Excellence, and this is the highest distinction of senior centers in the state of North Carolina. This is an operations and performance certification, which is renewable every 5 years, and is supported with grant funding for each of the facilities. What you also notice on this slide is this was our anniversary recognition of 40 years of operation in Burke County, so we're very proud of that. Looking forward, we also want to expand services throughout the county to our more rural communities such as Lake James, South Mountains, other locations. We will partner with available resources in those areas, hoping to reach out with fire departments, churches, anyone that would open their doors to host us, and also sponsor our mobile senior center efforts. Next slide. All right, volunteers. We currently have over 192 active volunteers within our senior services. They contribute approximately 8,000 hours of dedication. Our volunteers are vital to the existence of our activities and programs. Many of our volunteers have shared their time with us for well over 10 years or more. As you can see in the slides, some of the volunteer opportunities that we have is the TAB program, which is like the Are You OK program, where we call our daily shut-ins, our homebound seniors. Meals on Wheels, of course, delivering through 13 different routes. They also serve as instructors of our activities and our wellness programs, doing technology assistance, staff support, answering telephones, helping folks when they walk in the door, serve on councils, community ambassadors, helping us with outreach, and with SHIP Medicare counseling as well. National Volunteer Month is coming up in April each year. This year's theme for 2025 is called Connecting Communities, and we feel like we're already doing that. So I feel like we're ahead of the game there. This is the time each year we also recognize the contribution of our volunteers and also encourage people to get more involved with us. Next slide. Senior programs. So today's senior centers are community focal points. This is where active older adults will connect with vital community services. That can also help them stay healthy and independent. Senior centers work with community partners to provide access to health, economic security, social engagement, purpose, creativity, mobility, nutrition, all in a social and fun environment. So what are some of the things that you might find at a local senior center? We provide nutrition services, health, fitness, and wellness activities, information, assistance, and referral resources. We're like a call center for a lot of folks of all ages. Social and recreational activities, education and arts programs, caregiver support. We also have one of a very few deaf chapters of the AARP, and we have a vision loss support group as well. Volunteer opportunities abound, Medicare counseling, advocacy events, and a lot more. There are also many activities and programs that are offered at our centers. Therefore, each of our senior centers publish a different newsletter. We purposefully provide different activities and programs so that folks can have more opportunities to go back and forth between the two locations. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, Medicare. The Seniors Health Insurance Information Program, also known as SHIP, is part of the North Carolina Department of Insurance. We counsel Medicare beneficiaries and caregivers about the different parts of Medicare, Medicare Part A and B, your hospital and medical, Medicare Advantage plans, supplements, Medicare Part D drugs, all these different things. And we also monthly provide a Medicare 101. This is an opportunity for folks to come who are new to Medicare, turning 65, maybe going on disability, and don't know where to start. So they can come to our Medicare 101 class, and we try to help them navigate all their options and choices, and of course help them with the enrollment process. There are currently only 3 staff members who are certified to provide these services. You can see here during Medicare open enrollment period, this is every October 15th through December 7th every year. This is the one chance for folks to look at their Medicare coverage and make any changes. So this year, my 3 staff, including me, saw 363 people in about 6.5 weeks. Total client contacts for the year so far, 996. And total client Medicare savings for this year so far is $860,514. Next slide. Okay, nutrition services. Meals on Wheels is more than just a meal. It's about addressing food insecurities, isolation, malnutrition. We also help them enable independence and hopefully improve their overall health. The program is funded primarily through the Home and Community Care Block Grant, and through the Older Americans Act. This funding is given to the state of North Carolina, who uses an interstate funding formula to try to determine how many funds are divided among the 16 regions of North Carolina. The local council of government receives these funds and then work locally with our Burke County Council on Aging to determine how much each of our approved programs will receive in funding each year. These Council on Aging are members that are also appointed by the commissioners too. These meals are delivered. We have 13 routes currently in Burke County. 6 leave out of Morganton, 4 out of Valdez, 2 from Hildebrand, and 1 in George Hildebrand. You can see here it's funding through the Home and Community Care Block Grant last year and then current year. Additional funding that we received this year from the county, additional $50,000, You can see the average daily meals has increased with the additional funding. About 25 new people have been added to the program. Our wait list changes daily, almost hourly. Soon as we put some people on, we get about that many more, plus 5 added to the wait list. So that number changes every day. And the units of service, you can see a unit is an actual meal. So that's how many meals that we served, hot delivered meals last year. As mentioned before, the program relies heavily on the utilization of our volunteers to deliver the meals. There are about 150 volunteers who help contribute anywhere from 1 day a month, 1 day a week. Some of them have served every single week. Even have local disability groups that take multiple routes every week and deliver routinely with us. Upcoming is the annual March for Meals celebration. This commemorates a historic day in March when President Nixon signed into law a measure with the Older Americans Act of 1965. And what that was to include a national nutrition program called Meals on Wheels for seniors 60 and older. This recognition has been celebrated through programs across the country since 2002. So beginning in March, we will be contacting each of you and inviting you to ride along with us and help deliver meals and help see the individuals that we're trying to serve in the community. Next slide. All right, customer service. So this slide displays data that's collected from the customer service kiosk located inside of our Burke County Senior Center. This collects feedback from both the Senior Center and Veteran Service participants. Okay. As you can see, we received a combined overall 99% positive satisfaction feedback, which I believe is because of the valuable services that we're providing in-house. Okay. Any questions so far? Before we move on to Veteran Services portion, I'd like to introduce to you one of our participants, Ms. Linda McGalliard, who would like to share briefly some of her experiences with our senior services. Ms. Linda?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Linda McGalliard. I live at 100 Britton Drive here in Morganton. And I've been a resident of Burke County since 2014. When I first arrived, a friend of my father-in-law suggested that I go to the senior center to check out all that they had to offer. Well, I did just that. And let me tell you, what a surprise and a turning point in my life that visit turned out to be. I started attending the Burke County Senior Center on Mondays and Fridays to sit and enjoy the company of other knitters and crocheters, all dear friends to this day. Even met my roommate of 9 years through a mutual friend there. Over the years, I've participated in numerous senior center activities. What amazes me is that there is something for everyone. Several different card games, people get together, bridge, euchre, hand and foot, pinochle. There's line dancing, ballroom dancing, board games, bingo, brain games. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? Okay. Chair exercise, aerobic exercise, and my favorite, Tai Chi. Coming from Miami, where I practiced Tai Chi for 20 years, I was delighted when classes in Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention started at the Senior Center. After taking that first class, I became a certified instructor. To date, I've conducted 5 classes, and I have a new class starting January 7th, 2025. As an evidence-based program, the benefits that my students reap from this form of exercise are measured, and they are amazing. In 2017, I established Seniors in Action, an IRS 501c3 North Carolina nonprofit corporation. With nearly 500 members, we have a core of volunteers ever at the ready to assist staff with day-to-day activities like answering phones and participating in special projects. We also provide day and overnight trips for Burke County seniors. Also, through my involvement at the Senior Center, I am serving my 3rd term on the Burke County Council on Aging, and I'm proud of that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
So The point I'd like to make here, gentlemen, is that the Burke County Senior Center is truly a jewel in the crown of Burke County. And it's all because of the wonderful staff that you have there. They're the best, and they really care. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGallion.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Molly Eller for the Burke County Veteran Services. Okay, so the mission of Burke County Veteran Services is to serve veterans, their dependents, and survivors through counsel, enrollment, and education regarding benefits, programs, and assistance available in accordance with federal and state regulations. Okay. So as you can see, there is a lot of different services. So Burke County has provided $81,655 allocated to veterans of Burke County. So some of the services provided are transportation. The VA provides transportations to veterans to get to their appointments, to get to the VA. They also provide compensation for disability for those service-connected injuries. There is life insurance for veterans. There is state benefits, which is property taxes for veterans, hunting and fishing licenses for veterans, DMV tags for veterans. There's military honors, burial in the state cemetery or the national cemetery. Excuse me. And headstone or marker, and cremation benefit if the veteran qualifies. We also provide benefits for survivors of veterans and their dependents. There is a widow's benefit. There's also benefits for dependents of veterans who have passed away during their time in service. The VA provides health care for veterans. There's also VRE, which is Veterans Readiness and Employment. It's a program that serves severely injured veterans and helps them get back into the workforce. And education, there's scholarship programs for veterans, and there's also scholarship programs for dependents of veterans. There's housing for veterans, that's for homeless veterans, and there's also the home loans for veterans. Ah, lovely. Programs. So Blue Ridge Honor Flight. This is a flight that flies out of Asheville. It travels veterans to Washington, D.C. to visit all the veteran monuments in D.C. Memorial Day program. This is a program to remember all the fallen veterans. And Operation Greenlight. This runs 1 week before Veterans Day and runs until Veterans Day every year in November. Vet Smiles is a dental program that provides free dental care to low-income veterans. Our Veterans Day program is to honor all veterans who served in the United States military. Veterans Stand Down is a day of rest and recovery for veterans. There's everything from hot meals, hot food, haircuts, dental services at these stand downs. There's usually 2 a year, one in the springtime and one in the fall. VTC, that's Veterans Treatment Court. This helps justice-involved veterans stay out of jail and prison. Okay, Burke County veteran population. So, roughly Burke County has 89,000 residents. Out of that population, veterans are a vital part of that population. Some of the key challenges we have is, of course, disabled veterans, homeless veterans. So let's take a look at the numbers here. Roughly, there's an estimate of 5,221 veterans in Burke County. Out of that 5,000 veterans, 1,608 veterans are disabled. There's roughly 52 veterans that are homeless. And there are, out of the population, 98% of the veteran population are male and 2% are female. So, how do I keep up with all this stuff? So first, I have to go through training. Once I complete training, I have to take an exam to become credentialed. Once I receive my credentials and pass my exam, I get a PIV card. This is so I can access the VA websites. And then once I get all 4 steps complete, I have to go through mandatory CEUs. Okay. Now this is one of my favorite slides. Everybody always asks, how do I do this? And Walt Disney said, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So don't wait 20 years, 30 days down the road. Go ask for help. Okay. Summary. Veterans play a vital role in shaping our country. We honor them by providing services to assist them in improving their quality of life. Before I end, though, I had a veteran that wrote a letter for me that he would like to read to you guys. He is actually at a holiday party tonight with the DAV. It says, to the Burke County Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, Molly Eller, Burke County Veteran Services Officer and Director of Burke County Veteran Services, is an outstanding asset to our community. In addition to her daily duties, she is the one who puts the Memorial Day events and the Veterans Day events in our community. Always an outstanding performance. And Molly's daily efforts must consider the amount of funds she brings in the community with her service claims she produces anytime a veteran comes into her office and requests assistance. If and when veterans get judged for their disability, they would be given a rating by the Veterans Administration. Depending on this rating, it could be upwards of $4,000 a month to as little as $150 a month or lesser degrees depending on their disability. Any ways you look at it, Molly is bringing in thousands of dollars to our local economy with her sole efforts in the VA system. On a monthly basis, Molly hosts a Veterans Coffee Social with guest speakers for our veterans. You really ought to drop by one day to see the crowd. It is the first Thursday of the month at 09:30. That's 9:30 a.m. If you have any comments or questions for me, feel free to drop me a line at tabergen@burktruth.net and I will quickly reply. Thank you. 40 years of Burke County Senior Services and Veteran Services. Any questions, gentlemen?
Thank you, Molly. Great reports from both you guys. Any questions for Molly or Roxanne?
I don't have a question, I've got a comment. I think that the money we spend on senior services and veteran services is about the best well-spent money that the county provides. I thank you both for what you do. However, Ms. Powell pointed right at me when she said the word 65 years old. I'm 39. If I live to January, I'll be 39.
And holding, sir.
Thank you for all y'all do, seriously.
Thank you.
Just one thing. Well, I'm sorry, just real quick, where's the Veteran Services at?
I am located in inside of the Burke County Senior Center, which is at 501 North Green Street. You're very welcome.
Other questions, comments? Again, great report, ladies. Thank you for all you do. You meet a wonderful need. Our folks really appreciate it, and I know just as these guys do, numbers of folks that come to the senior center and enjoy those programs, and the veterans that appreciate all the work that you guys do for us all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, this brings us to item number 3. Comes from, okay, let's have a vote to, motion to accept the reports as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the reports as presented.
All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Thank you for keeping me on track. Number 3, Board of Commissioners reports and comments. We'll receive reports and comments from the board and staff at this time. We'll start down there with Ms. Margaret.
No report, just wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season.
All right, thank you, Mark. Mr. Attorney?
Now that I figured out how to work this microphone, nothing from me. Hope you have a good Christmas.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Same from our family.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Stroud?
Yes, I'm excited about the season and just seeing everybody united together and moving forward. And man, we just got the best years ahead of us. Congratulations, Destin.
All right, Mr. Burns?
Just wanted to extend a very Merry Christmas to all of you out there, all of you watching at home. From my family to yours, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Commissioner Smith, Vice Chair?
Yep, I'm sorry, sir, don't hear good from my military service sometimes. I don't know your last name, Jim, but thank you for coming and saying nice things. We don't always get a lot of people that are happy with us coming in here wanting to speak to us, but I thank you, and I want to wish everybody in the audience and everybody at home that's watching a safe and happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to give you guys an update, I know Mike's busy as well. We, as new commissioners, have scheduled meetings with different folks. But being on the library board, I have met with Director Jim Wilson and got to see all the great things our libraries are doing throughout the county. I've met with Mr. Wood at Burke Development. I've stopped at our Jonas Ridge and 18 South convenience sites and spent some time with those folks and told them how much we appreciate them. And just today, Sheriff Heitzman was kind enough to spend 2 hours with me, going through his offices and meeting his personnel in the jail, Captain Huffman. And the sheriff took me through today and really had a great time, and I appreciate,
Awesome.
to see what our county folks are doing. And Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
Yes.
And hope you have a blessed holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. And along with the rest of the guys, let me wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as we proceed into the holiday season. It's thank you for being here tonight and being a part of our meeting. A few courtesy reminders. The Morganton Christmas Parade will be tomorrow night, December the 17th. Our county offices will be closed December 24th through 26th for Christmas, January 1st for New Year's Day, and then January 20th for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Our next meeting date will be January 7th, our pre-agenda meeting at 3 p.m. Also have the Martin Luther King Jr. Banquet on January the 18th at 5 p.m. at the Morganton Community House. Our regular meeting will be January 21st on Tuesday at 6 p.m., and that will be because of the holiday on Monday. Essentials of County Government will be meeting on January the 22nd through the 24th in Winston-Salem. Some of our commissioners will be attending that meeting. I would remind you, please don't litter, cover your loads, and take care of your pets, and visit our Animal Services Center. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone tonight. That'll bring us to item number 12, vacancy announcements. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, we have the following opportunities for citizens to be engaged in county boards and committees. The Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee. City of Morganton Board of Adjustment for the ETJ. Burke County Public Health Advisory Board, and that is for a veterinarian seat. Hickory Regional Planning Commission, the Drexel Planning Board, ETJ alternate. Desperately need residents from the east for the Burke County Planning Board. And then we have an opportunity on the Partners Health Management Human Rights Committee.
All right, thank you for those announcements, Madam Clerk. I would encourage you, those who are present tonight, those watching online, to consider some of these vacancy announcements. If you have time and could work on some of these boards and committees, we would certainly encourage you to consider that. You can contact our clerk's office for application or get application online and give your help to our county in all these different areas. Item 13 tonight is closed session. We do not have a need for a closed session tonight. And that brings us to the coveted item number 14, adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain the vote. All in favor?
I just want to hang out a little bit.
I think that's 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you all for being here tonight. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.